Hello, and welcome to HerdmanHealth. In this video, I will explain to you how to add classes and add students in your HerdmanHealth organization. In order to do so smoothly, you would need to watch the first video where I explain how to create staff members. If you haven't already, please check that video out. In order to navigate to the classes screen, you would need to go into Setup and then navigate yourself to the second tab, which says Classes. Here, you will find all of your classes and all of your students. This first box will display all of the classes that you have added, and the second box will display all of the students that you have added, which you can later assign to those classes that you have created earlier. Let's begin. In order to add a class, find the Add Class button in the top left. Upon clicking on it, the following menu would be opened. It will ask you to input one field, the name of the class, and then assign a teacher to the class. For the purpose of this example, let's call the class Psychology 101. Once that class is created, an assessment prefix would be added automatically. An assessment prefix is just a helpful guide to help you understand which class is which. Lastly, you would need to assign a teacher to the class. As you remember before, in our previous video, we have created John Doe, which had the role of the instructor. Let's choose him to be the teacher for this class. Then once you're satisfied, you can press Create Class. This will create the following class and it will now display in the box at the top. Let's create a second one. Let's call this one Psychology 202. And for this class, let's assign myself as a teacher. If you remember, I am both an instructor and an admin, which was the default setting whenever you log in with your initial account for your HerdmanHealth organization. Now we've got two classes, Psychology 101 and Psychology 202. If at any point in time you have realized that you perhaps want to change any information regarding the class, you could click on the pen icon and then press Edit Class. Just like before, you can change any information necessary and then press Update Class. Now that we have two classes, let's create some students to fill those classes up. In order to do so, press the Add Student button below the classes that are displaying on the screen. The following window will pop up. Let's call our new student Carlos Doe. You enter the first name, the last name, and then under Class and Section, you choose which class the student will go to. Let's pick Psychology 101. Then you would need to enter the email address of the student. Lastly, there is an option to pick a group for the student. When you have multiple students working together, it would be really easy to set assignments for groups. If you want to further dissect the class by cutting it into groups and then setting individual assignments based on those groups, you're free to do so, and the option to do so would be over here. And just like before, there are two options for MS Word, desktop and web. Based on your student's operating system, one might be more preferable than the other. This would come in handy for generating the final narratives for the assessments that they have completed. Let's add another student. Let's call her Sarah Doe. And instead of Psychology 101 as her class and section, let's put her in Psychology 202. Just like before, we add the email address, and then once we're satisfied, we press Create Student. Now, as you can see, we have two classes and two students, Sarah and Carlos. Just like the classes, if you'd like to edit any of the information for any of the students, you're free to do so by clicking the pen icon on the left, and then changing any of the information inside of the input fields. Also, just like for the staff in the previous video, we have two options of creating the passwords for the students that we have just added. One would be by email, which means that they would receive an email which would help them log in. And the other would be by direct input, which you can manually set a password for any of the students and then share that password with them. Let's directly input a password for Sarah. Make sure to follow all of the rules. And once we're satisfied, we can press Set Password. And just to show you the other option, for Carlos, we can press Send Email. We can go to the by email method and then we can just press the Send Email button at the bottom. That will send an email to them that they could later follow to log in. One last thing to explain about the classes screen would be the two drop-down menus, one being class and section and the other being group. Currently, we don't have any groups, so I will explain the class and section. When you click on it, it will allow you to select all of the classes that you have. With time, once you have a lot of students working with HerdmanHealth assessments, you can select a class, and the table just below it would only show the students that are part of that class. So to demonstrate, if I press Psychology 101, it will only show Carlos, as he is part of Psychology 101. And then if I press Psychology 202, I will only get Sarah. You could do the same with groups if you decide to make those. Thank you for watching this tutorial. In the next video, I can show you how to make group assessments that those students that we just created could then use.